Yo YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy SalvationsElite. We are back with another video, guys, and today, man, Rostermania is back at it again, man. The news has been flying around. Like, literally so much has changed in the past, like, 2-3 days. And, I mean, while this beta's been going on, the pros have been on phone calls, making reservations, making news, and making rosters, I guess. And so we've been talking about a lot of things today because Call of Duty Intel, CWL Intel, now CDL Intel on Twitter. You should go give him a follow. His link's down in the description. He's one of the most reliable sources for Rostermania news, especially this year. He's been killing it so far. Even Temp, like, on stream was talking about how accurate the CWL Intel or CDL Intel account has been. That was just yesterday. He basically said, I don't know where he's getting his info, but he's pretty spot on. And if you guys want to know what rosters are, go look at his tweets. This is literally what he said on stream. So he was gassing him up. So it's pretty good information, a pretty good telling of what's going to be happening. And CDL Intel even said, like, he thinks he's about 80% accurate with his information right now. So there's a lot of good stuff going in this video. He dropped a lot of info today, and we're going through it all. I think what's really interesting right now is that we're getting, like, these, like, really leaky rumors, not as much as we normally would get, and, like, basically no announcements, even though guys have actually signed already, because I think it has something to do with the contracts and how that works with teams announcing their rosters. I would assume a lot of teams want to announce their rosters on their own, so they probably have some type of clause in their contract to not leak the rosters publicly, I'm assuming. So that's why it's kind of going through these different sources to get those rosters out there, some more information out there for the people. Before we get into anything else, Hecz announced that he has left OpTic Gaming. I kind of want to do like a separate video on this in itself, but I feel like it just makes more sense to put it all into one big, massive Rostermania video. So he left OpTic Gaming. That opens up the first window, the first topic of the video, which is the OpTic roster that we talked about in the past week, where Crim, like, leaked it, and he said that it was going to be TJ, Dashy, Scump, Formal, and then the fifth was potentially going to be JCap. But it sounds like a lot of that has changed now. The rumor is that basically the Time to Pound duo, Scump and Formal, are headed to Chicago, which is the new franchise that was just announced, the NRG franchise in Chicago. And there's potential that Hecz has been linked to this Chicago franchise in some way. Nobody's, like, really gone out to report it yet because nobody's had it confirmed by more than just one source. But it is definitely really coincidental that these rumors are kind of coinciding at the same time. The burner on the OpTic subreddit yesterday said that he didn't think the T2P duo was coming to LA, and then CDL Intel heard the same thing today. So the info's kind of lining up now where it looks like that might be the case, that they might be headed to Chicago. No one really knows why that, like, kind of fell through with the whole LA, OpTic, Dashy, and TJ roster or anything. The rumored roster for the Chicago team is real nice. It's Scump, Formal, Gunless, Arcitys, and Envoy. So those are some of the guys that were rumored for the Luminosity Seattle roster just a few days ago. But CDL Intel said that you can kind of trace it back to the same day where all those guys were tweeting. Gunless, Arcitys, Envoy were all kind of tweeting about it and tweeting things that seemed to line up that something fell through that roster. And now they're rumored to be going to Chicago with Scump and Formal, which does make sense. I mean, Formal and Gunless are definitely buddies. We've seen that. They teamed together on LG, and they're 100% buddies. Sounds like Scump and Formal definitely made peace with each other, and they're chill now. That roster's nice. I mean, my goodness. I mean, Gunless, known to have some of the best pure talent in the league. And then you got Arcitys and Envoy, who had incredible seasons last year. I mean, for Arcitys to end how he ended it with the championship, Envoy had played so good throughout the year. That roster is nasty. And if this roster ends up happening, it's going to be an incredibly dangerous roster. So with that said, I think the first question in everyone's mind is, okay, so if Scump and Formal aren't on LA OpTic, who's on LA OpTic? So the rumor is still that TJ and Dashy are still going to be there. But the other two that are linked to LA OpTic now are Slasher and Kenny, which would be great additions to that roster. And then the other guy that potentially might be there is JCap. For TJ, Dashy, Kenny, and Slasher would be an awesome core of four. Whoever the fifth is, doesn't really matter. That four will be really, really good regardless. So that's what the OpTic roster in LA potentially might be now. So after the fallout in Seattle, the potential roster now is Slacked, Octane, and Enable for sure. And then the two other ones are still kind of rumored. Maybe Karma, maybe Apathy, and maybe John as well. Those are all kind of guys that apparently are options in Seattle right now. The Minnesota roster is really interesting. It sounds like it's going to be similar to the Envy roster last year. Silly, Assault, and GodRx are currently linked to Minnesota, while Hecz and Decimate are possibilities. So literally all the Envy roster last year except for Huke right now. And then the Dallas roster right now, the current Envy roster, is rumored to be Crimsix, Clay, Huke, ILLeY, and Shotzzy, which would be a really, really fun team. I don't know how that would necessarily play out with Crim and Clay on the same team. They haven't teamed in a while now. Overall, that'd be a really, really fun roster. I'd be really interested to see how that one would play out. CDL Intel said that Shotzzy is still a question mark on that roster. Not sure if that's actually going to be the case, but the other 4 right now are really heavily linked to Envy, so that makes sense. With some of the other franchises that currently have rumors, Florida is one. Maux, Skyz, and Frosty are currently linked to Florida's team, which I think is a solid core so far. They're not, I mean, with those 3 guys, I don't think they'd be an elite team at this point, but you never really know how that potentially could work out. Depends who the other 2 are for sure. And then the New York roster right now is going to be Accuracy, Attach, ZooMaa, Zero, and Temp. That's the current rumored roster, which is a really fun team. I think that has a chance to be real solid. Attach and ZooMaa apparently still linked together to be playing on the same squad. They've done a good job of staying together for most of their careers. And then the final 2 squads, the London squad, right now only Skrapz and Dylan are connected to that one. I mean, Skrapz did, again, yesterday, in the last video we talked about, he signed a contract, so it sounds like that probably is going to be the landing spot. I mean, it only makes sense considering they're both English, you know, to be on the London team. And then the Atlanta squad, which has been kind of the same rumored roster for a long time now, is the Simp, AbeZy, Major Maniak, Priestahh, and Cellium roster, which I think will be a really nice core. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out with the leadership ability on those teams. I think that's the biggest question right now for that roster. But I mean, personally, I think Priestahh, Major Maniak could do just fine in that type of role, in some type of leadership role. I don't have too much worry with that roster. I think it should be a pretty fun squad, a pretty solid squad overall. So that's so far what we know overall about the rosters heading into the new week. It feels like it's kind of starting to iron out. The OpTic news was by far the biggest surprise. I think we're going to be seeing more and more develop with that. Interesting to see if Hecz is actually involved with that Chicago team, because that'd be really cool if he was. Otherwise, I'm not sure what he'll end up doing. It's really hard to say. But it seems like Scump and Formal are definitely a duo now. There's been no rumor other than Scump and Formal playing together so far. So that sounds like it's going to be the case. And again, like I said, it only makes sense that Formal and Gunless would team up as well. And I love the addition of Arcitys and Envoy. So that team will be really, really fun. Man, what I'm so excited about this year is the new revival of rosters. Now that the OpTic guys are all going to be split up potentially, I just think a lot of teams are going to have a lot of star power moving into this next year, which is going to make it really fun to watch a lot of these matches. I mean, hopefully there's more on the line than just some league matches. I'd love to have some open bracket tournaments or some, actual tournaments with elimination games throughout the year that we can get hyped about. But overall, I'm really pumped about it. I can't wait to see how these rosters finish out. So overall, guys, I really appreciate you guys' support. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. But as always, guys, I'm your boy, SalvationsElite, and we will see you next time. I'm out.